everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 134. As always, I am one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by the Woody and Buzz Lightyear of California, Jesse Cox and Alex Fasciane.
Which one of us is Woody and which one of us is Buzz?
I would have to say Alex is Woody and you're Buzz.
Okay. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't know which one is which. I don't know. I don't know what my mind is latching onto. But
I always figured that, like,
maybe the other way.
No. I figured of all the toys, I was the T-Rex and Alex was the Slinky Dog.
I was gonna say I'm Slinky Dog already.
100%.
I already vibe with Slinky Dog.
Yeah, but they're not an iconic duo.
Well,
strongly disagree.
I'm gonna start
Rex
some
and
fights.
Slinky Dog. Have you been watching Between the Lines?
No.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. That's not like a real thing. What I want to do is, with my authority as the sheriff of these parts today, I would love to rebrand this episode, not as episode 134.
Okay.
I would like to brand this episode as episode, like, this is like how like Marvel Comics would do this shit. I want to brand this episode as episode 2022.
What?
Yeah, this is an episode from the future. It's the first episode of the year. And I want you guys to know that if you guys thought that I was long-winded and full of shit before.
What is happening?
I'm trying to follow really hard.
I have gone completely off the deep end. I need you all to go to patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod to get me back on the level. We have scruples here at Chilluminati Pod. I've lost my mind. You'll see what I mean in a minute. We're going deep. I don't know how far we're going. I've already chopped this episode into two parts.
Did you approve this? What is happening?
I did not. He's literally going rogue.
He gave me carte blanche. He gave me prima nocta to do whatever I want.
Prima nocta?
Yeah, that's true. And
oh my God, what?
Yeah. Not, prima nocta with the mysteries. Not, you know what I'm saying.
I mean, I hope I know what you're saying.
Well, me too. I hope I know what I'm saying too. But please go to patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod where you can support our fine show for another year of laughs and gasps. And sad moments of us existentially lamenting the state of American culture at various times throughout history. All stuff we do on this show that you love.
It's true.
And I'll keep doing these commercials forever. Don't you worry. I know you guys love them, so
they do. It's the only commercial I don't edit out of the Patreon episodes.
That's because it's edutadvertising.
Edutadvertising.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Say that out loud, and like that will be part of our children's futures. It's
a little bit of learning and all advertising.
Yeah, exactly. Can you believe next month is year 4 for us?
Is that true?
Yeah,
that is true.
Wow,
we started in February of 2018.
That's like the new Mandela effect, is forgetting that 2 years have passed since the pandemic started.
I saw that post from that kid who was like, I was 14 when the pandemic started. I'll be 18 this year. And I'm like, no.
Shut the fuck up, kid. Shut the fuck up. That kid's not allowed on patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod, but all of you are.
We don't want him there
to support us. I don't want to see him. I don't want to hear about what he's got to say. But I'm glad you guys are here. I'm just so, this is the year of gratefulness for me. And you guys are also going to be grateful at the end, whenever I finally do reach the end of this gargantuan episode.
I can't tell if this is all set up for a goof or if like this, I don't know what's I can't read you.
That's my energy. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I'm so cool that I don't have to explain myself. That's the whole thing. That's what we were saying just before the microphone. I need more of an
explanation now.
All right. Do you guys want to just get into it? No more hemming and hawing.
It is an episode in your hands.
Yeah.
Today.
So here we go. Woody's Roundup. No, I'm just kidding. What if that's what I did? What if I sang the whole Woody's Roundup song right now? Actually, what if I sang the song that Jesse sings? Not Jesse Cox, but Jesse the cowgirl. That sad song. Remember that one? Toy Story 2?
I do remember it.
Yeah. What if I sang that? What if this episode was 5 minutes long and we just right now I just sang the song from When Somebody Loved Me from Toy Story 2, and that was my surprise.
I can't tell if you're stalling for the story or if this is an actual thing you want to do. I can't read you. I'm just trying. I'm floating along the razor's edge right now. We are here. I'm going to just get right into it. It's been a rough one for all of us, but it's a new year. And like we've been saying, it's been a really shitty couple of years, I think, in general for everybody on the globe, whatever. But traditionally, when things are going better later and we can afford to be hard on ourselves again in the future, the new year sometimes is a time where we think of it as a fresh start, right? We think of it as a time to clean house, time for new beginnings, right? So today, before I start on my first new big singular project for the year, I decided that I was going to give you, because it's episode 2022, I decided that I would give you 22 little mysteries that have been floating around in my notes for the past year, for all of 2021, that for whatever reason, I'm finally ready to just knock them off my list, even in a smaller and more abbreviated way. Isn't that great? Isn't that a nice idea for an episode? It's in the spirit of the season. You know what I'm saying? So nice. So great.
I'm excited.
So
I'm excited for whatever it is you bring to the table.
Yeah. I call these little things, and you can follow me here, I call them mini mysteries. Okay. And here and let's just get going, because really I said there are 22 of them. I don't know if you're really thinking about how many that actually is. That's a lot.
That's too many.
Yeah, it definitely 22.
Almost like it might need to be 2 parts.
Too many. I already split this into 2 parts. This is not a surprise 2-parter. So just be ready for one. This is the obligatory content warning. I'm not going to give you any spoilers at the top, other than that there are going to be adult themes, graphic violence, murder, and sexual abuse in today's episode at different parts, along with a lot of other fun
how
stuff.
come when we do adult themes, it isn't like sensual love between two consenting adults?
Sometimes it is. It was very well received.
And one camera. You know what I mean? Like, why is it never anything good?
Autofocus.
Episode 69 was filled with good stuff.
Yeah, but it wasn't like Alex coming in and being like, I've got 22 stories that are going to titillate your tata.
How many did I do?
You know
how many 69 stories did I do? 9?
Not 69, 10? That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe next time. Maybe next time we hit episode 69, I'll do 69 stories.
All right. I'll hold you to that.
But please proceed at your own risk. At this point, like I said, there's a little bit of adult content here amongst a lot of laughs and fun and general kookiness. So without any further ado, let's just get into it. Mini mystery number 1 is called email, but it has 3 E's because it's like a spooky version of email.
Right.
Email.
Got it.
All right. So there was this guy, 32-year-old man from Dunmore, Pennsylvania, who is called Jack Freeze. Freeze.
Jack Frost?
It's Froese. So you guys can do with that what you will. He's a super nice guy, super funny guy. He had a bunch of friends and a loving family. But unfortunately, he died suddenly from a heart arrhythmia in the summer of 2011. You hate to see it, but sometimes that's what happens. But this alone does not a mini mystery make. And 5 months later, one of Jack's closest friends, a man called Tim Hart, was checking his email at home when he noticed an email from Jack's old email address, which kind of creeped him out. And Jesse, if you would please be so kind as to read this for me. We're just going to get right into it here. I'm just going to drop it right into the Zoom chat for you.
New Year's resolutions are something everybody loves to put on themselves, especially ones that are just not all that feasible. It's important that you take your New Year's resolution and make sure that they're not only attainable, but healthy for you moving into 2022. We all have big dreams for 2022, but instead of setting New Year's resolutions that require superhuman feats of willpower, start with a manageable first step. And when it comes to your mental health, the best way to see lasting progress is to get support from a licensed therapist who can show you the way forward step by step. Here's the thing, if you struggle with keeping your New Year's resolutions or beating yourself up over it, it's not going to help. Learning to accept the moments when you slip up along the way is the key to lasting progress. Talking to a therapist can help with that. With Talkspace, you get support from a personally matched therapist right from your phone or computer whenever you need it, so you can make taking care of your mental health part of your daily routine. And I know how stigmatizing it can feel to go see a therapist. It's one of the reasons I waited so long in my life, but I've been seeing a therapist now for near on 3 years, and it has changed my life for the better. It's just a way to keep yourself in check. You go to a doctor's to have your body checked up on, might as well take care of your brain too. Mental health matters. Make mental health part of your daily routine with Talkspace. Visit Talkspace.com and get $100 off your first month when you use promo code CHILL at sign up. That's $100 off at Talkspace.com, promo code CHILL. And thanks to Talkspace for sponsoring the episode.
I'm watching. Did you hear me? I'm at your house, cleaning your fucking attic.
Of course, any heartless hacker type could do something like this, right? Get onto a dead guy's email address and mess with his friends.
On the internet? No, it'll never happen.
And it happens all the time, especially
he's known for swearing, though. He was known.
Well, I know the audience can't see it, but the editing of the language was not mine. That is SIC, as they say. Seek. What does that mean? It means in the manner that it was written, but I don't know what it actually stands for because I'm not an academic.
Oh, interesting.
But hey,
interesting.
Any hacker could do this, but the reason it freaked out Tim specifically is that Tim and Jack actually did hang out in the attic a lot together. Like, you would have to know them to know that mentioning the attic would get under Tim's skin. And actually, the last time that he and Jack hung out before Jack passed away, they actually went up there and joked about how dirty it was up there and that Tim really had to get down to cleaning it, right? So that's why it freaked him out, because it was so like laser specific to stuff that they had talked about just before he passed away.
Very spooky. Yeah,
Tim wrote him back with questions, but he never got a reply. But then it happened again. With the same email address, this time to Jack's cousin, Jimmy McGraw, who sounds like a real guy for sure. And he was checking his email, and the same thing, an email from Jack's old email address came through. And this time I'll send one through for Mathis to read. A little bit different. So this is the email that came through for Jimmy McGraw, real guy.
Hey, Jim, how are you doing? I knew you were going to break your ankle. Tried to warn you. Got to be careful. Tell Rock for me. Great song. You're welcome. Couldn't get through to him. His email didn't work.
What? So for Jimmy, this is even creepier because he only broke his ankle like a week prior to getting this email, which again was 5 months after Jack had died. And he told nobody about the fact that he broke his ankle because he just did it like alone. He was like walking out the door to work and it just happened. And it's, it didn't lay him up or like ruin the lives of a bunch of people. He just sort of like, oh shit, my ankle's broken. So it wasn't like a big deal, but yet Jack knew about it in his email. So I don't know who Rock is. I don't know what the song is that they're talking about. I believe that's probably a mutual friend of theirs who doesn't have an email and he just wrote a song, something like that. But both Tim and Jim decided to just sort of take this communication as a nice sign from their friend. There was enough details in the emails that they felt like, this could really be him and we're fine with that. They don't really care what anybody else thinks about it. They're not trying to convince anybody that it's real. And since nobody ever really stood to make any money off of this or tried to make any money off of this, even though the story got so big that it made the national news and like nobody like swooped in to try and like do a book or anything like that, I kind of tend to believe that these people at the very least aren't lying about what they're saying and that the emails probably really did come through. But yeah, nobody knows what those emails were and they've never been explained. Pretty wild.
They never tried to write back to him or anything?
No, they said they did.
They tried, but no reply.
Sorry,
and those are the only two they got.
And bounce out.
Yeah.
Huh.
Little amuse-bouche for you guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a tasty morsel. I like that one a lot.
I like to call them, this is my new term for them, mini mysteries, because they're mysteries, but they're small and you get the double.
Whoa.
Consonant. You know what consonance is?
Slow down, Poindexter. What?
You guys know what consonance is?
Consonant?
Two consonant sounds that are the same as each other. Mini mysteries. Get it? Mama.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts. I thought I hired a co-host, not a marketing genius.
Dude, I'm a diamond in the rough. Not only am I a sheriff with really bendy legs, but I'm a genius. Mini mystery number 2, moving right along, is called A858. We are still in 2011 with this one, same year as the Weird Jack email.
Yeah.
We're still on the internet. It's another internet mystery, but this time, instead of emails, we're heading over to Reddit, where a Reddit account with the seemingly gibberish handle of U/A858DE45F5F56D9BC9, long one, started making posts to a subreddit that was also called A858, et cetera, et cetera. Same subreddit, same username, right? They matched. And at first, the post that he was making just kind of seemed like gibberish as well. Just long strings of letters and numbers. I would send you a quote of one for you guys to read it, but it would literally just be an encrypted message that you couldn't understand of numbers and letters, so don't worry about it. But yeah, that's all it was for a while. And then almost a year later, out of nowhere, somebody posted an AMA request, like drawing attention to it, just being like, what the hell is this? I want to talk to this person. Like, somebody tell me what you guys are posting here. What do these messages mean? Why are they all here? Like, and so people saw the AMA request and the link to the subreddit and were like, what the hell is this? And pretty soon after that, another subreddit called Solving A858 was born. And that's like the one that the fans of this mystery now, they're all on board trying to solve this like mysterious subreddit. They all got on there. Now, suddenly, like, next level computer and cryptography nerds are coming out of the woodwork and get into the mix now, right? Because that's what always happens when like a mystery on the internet goes viral, right? Because people love to like go on the source code and like look for a like cipher text or something, right?
Sure.
And in the beginning, they kept that solving subreddit like private so that they could like focus, and they would only let people in who like actually could help them. But then some headway started to be made, and it started to become too big, and they still wanted to be sort of like the boss of it. They decided they wanted to like be the sheriffs of it still. So they ended up opening the Reddit to public. And as people started to swap notes, they thought that maybe this subreddit was some kind of like number station style thing, or some sort of recruiting tool, like how Cicada 3301 was, if you guys remember that episode.
Yes.
Classic.
Which is basically why I didn't do this episode, because they're like so similar. But after a while working on this, they all people really could figure out was that the titles of the posts seemed to be timestamps for the posts, even though they were also encrypted. And that some of them had like, some of the posts had like jokey little Easter egg messages hidden in them that were like easier to like much less complex codes than the rest of the codes. And they would say things like Happy New Year, or like no to SOPA, you know, when SOPA was a thing and they were like trying to talk shit on SOPA, or just like every once in a while they'd post like an ASCII picture of Stonehenge, you know, things that kind of felt a little human, you know what I mean? Things that felt a little bit less like some kind of bot that was just like running nonsense. But most of the stuff on there, like I said, was much more like encrypted, which means that it is meant to be permanently hidden, rather than encoded, which means that it's later meant to be deciphered. So the solution was not like an easy one to figure out, and it's really hard to get to the meat of anything. So obviously, whoever it was making this stuff was actively listening, following the media coverage themselves. But also, interestingly, whenever it potentially got to a point where too many people were getting too hype on it, and like Reddit was like jamming into it and all this stuff, they would like private their page and like wait it out until it blew over because nobody could access it. And they would just wait. And like, it felt like, you know, every time a listicle would mention it, they would like go low profile mode so that like they could hit their like target for activity or something, is what it kind of felt like. Right. And so this is just kind of how it was. There was posts. People would like occasionally notice that it went offline and stuff like that. 4 years go by, nothing really changed. And then someone started posting similar hexadecimal chains to the ones in A858 in the solving Reddit, right? So like now people are posting encoded messages in there, except they're a little easier to solve. People slowly began to realize that it was actually the creator of A858 who was trying to do their own like weird version of an AMA in the subreddit. And the people in the subreddit, the engineers and stuff that were in there, were actually able to make a script that would like insta translate the posts so that everybody could read it as it was happening, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
And once they got to talking with this person, they said that the puzzles were actually paid work that was created by a group in service to a specific company who sometimes requested that they post certain things to raise awareness of the subreddit in the public eye, like the little fun things, little jokes, the Stonehenge, just to get people hype on it again. But neither the identity of the group or the people in the group or the name of the company were ever made public. And they said that they broke their silence because, quote, the audience was getting frustrated and that they, quote, cannot disclose the purpose. A858 will end when the purpose is disclosed or discovered. And also, they said actually that one of the puzzles, like one of the main puzzles that nobody could solve, actually was solved by a woman in the UK, but that no one really noticed. And now her account was deleted, and people were kind of speculating that maybe they like absorbed her, you know, somehow once she solved one of them. But that AMA went on for a while, and then they did a post that decoded to all zeros, and that was like the end of the AMA. So that was pretty wild. And then after that, even more people showed up to the puzzle solving party because it just kept getting more high and high profile, because that was like a crazy thing that happened, was that AMA. And following in the footsteps of the Happy New Year solve and the No to SOPA solve, someone found a partial decryption key for some of the earliest like main posts, but they were only ever able to partially decrypt them. And other than some more ASCII art and some jokes and some possible coordinates to somewhere in North Korea, which was largely unconfirmed, no definitive progress towards the purpose of the site was made. And suddenly, out of nowhere, one day, just like it had happened a few times for a short amount of time, the whole thing goes private again. Right? Like I said, at first, everybody thought, oh, this is normal. Like, it's just going to be one of those things again where it goes away and comes back. But this time when it came back, there was now a message on the sidebar that read, quote, the A858 project has concluded. You may unsubscribe. And then it went private, and then it stayed that way. And A858, whatever, deleted their account. The subreddit was still there, but the account, the user was deleted. So then the solving A858 mods were like, well, they know the rules of Reddit. If you don't have mods on your Reddit, you can ask Reddit to like make you the mods, right? And there's like a process to like claim stuff like that, right? But they found out that A858 had already appointed someone as their moderator, and that person was like a mysterious person that they couldn't pin down. So a little while later, another post appeared on the solving subreddit, and this one was confirmed legit by a mod, because the person contacted them and was like, hey, really quick, I'm going to make you able to post on A858 to prove to you that I am really this person. And so that was good enough for them to like briefly be able to post on A858. And they apologized to the audience saying, quote, the information available to the public is not sufficient to solve all outstanding puzzles. Some information was missed and other remains undiscovered / misunderstood. But because of the misinformation, any further efforts on solving A858 will be in vain. We will not respond to any questions in the comments nor by direct message. This account will not be monitored after 1300 hours UTC Wednesday. And a few weeks later, through slightly more dubious means, a little more info came out through hearsay. Some of the highest people at Solving said they have a connect to this person. They said that the company that hired the person had lost interest, that the project had lost funding, and that it would never come back, even though like almost none of it was solved, which was frustrating for everybody involved, especially the people who made it. And that's basically it. We'll never know what mysterious company that was. But in 2018, it opened up one more time for about a week with a new moderator with like another number for its username, but nothing happened. And that's the last I've heard of it. And that is the A858 mystery.
That's pretty interesting.
Good. Yeah.
It's a little
I can
shorter.
see why you kind of compared to the cicada mystery earlier too.
Yeah.
They're very, very similar.
Yeah. These mysteries, again, shorter than our regular mysteries we cover on the show. Mini size.
If I could just learn these mysteries while they're happening, I'm smart enough.
Yeah, exactly. Next one, left turn. This one is called Silicon Butterfly.
It is interesting. I will say that a lot of these so far have been in that, even though I recall the early days of like the, 2000, 2001 internet, we were still in that weird, like everyone kind of trusted everyone phase of the internet. And so you'd go on like YTMND and watch a goof, right? And then you'd be like, but I got a virus. What? Like that but the 2010, 2011, 2000, like that era is when people started to be like, how can we use the internet to like mess with people?
Yeah.
And I mean, even on YouTube when they were doing that Lonely Girl stuff, if you know what I remember, way back when.
That sounds so familiar.
Dude,
Wait a minute.
I was like the guy who was affected by that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was all in. You don't remember that, Mathis?
Yeah,
it seemed real. It seemed real at first. It was just
like a vlog girl, and then like she got caught up in a freaking mystery, and
it was like a cult situation, and you find out like, she's like in a cult and all this shit.
Yeah.
And her parents are like really strict and stuff. And then she like went on like, I think it was like Jimmy Kimmel or something, and was like, I'm an actress. All fake. Yeah.
And everyone was
like a mind fuck. It was awesome. Yeah. I still like followed it for years, but it was like awesome. But yeah, it's crazy because I was just about to start doing the job that I basically am doing now at that time. I was just getting started on doing that. Right. So same zone, but I think like probably like 3 or 4 years later was when, like probably towards the end of the Obama administration, when everybody was kind of like, oh, the internet, we're fucked, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like And yeah, it's like the cigarette moment for the internet. That was in like 2015 sometime. I don't know what happened. I don't know what that moment was. We can talk about, we can debate that for a whole episode, but that's my marketing genius's opinion. The sheriff of Andy's room will say that 2015 was the last partially good year of internet culture. And then we went straight to hell after that. Number 3 of 22 is called Silicon Butterfly. A really clever title, trust me. The next one shoots back to 1999, the real old internet in Malibu, California, where a couple hikers going through a canyon about 1.5 miles off a PCH found a 1993 Ford Aerostar van, which was down at the bottom of a ravine and which contained human remains inside. The cause of death, once the authorities were involved, was called probably suicide, quote, probably suicide. And surprisingly, when the body was finally identified via dental records, it was discovered that at one point in time, this person had been none other than Philip Taylor Kramer, who at one point in the early 70s had briefly joined and recorded an album or two with the band Iron Butterfly, though the article was like, it was well after their glory days, which I don't know why there's any need to do like Iron Butterfly criticism. But whatever.
Criticize Iron Butterfly, who I've never fucking heard of.
You probably have. That's how they're like popular enough that you've probably heard their music.
Okay.
But yeah, he was in the band Iron Butterfly in 1974. Shortly thereafter, though, in 1975, he changed his name from Philip Taylor Kramer simply to Taylor Kramer. He left the band. He went back to college. He earned a degree in aerospace engineering. He even spent some time working for the Department of Defense before starting a company called Total Multimedia Inc. In the 90s, which was apparently a cutting-edge company that dealt with video compression technology. Like cutting-edge video compression, when that was like really starting to become a thing, right at the end of the millennium. But even more interestingly was that the day Taylor went missing, which was actually 4 years before the van was found, in February 12th, 1995, when his friend Greg Martini and his wife were waiting for him to pick them up at LAX. That's when he disappeared. So apparently at the time, he'd been working late hours, barely finding any time to sleep for the previous 2 weeks. And earlier that day, Kramer had called his wife and told her that, quote, plans had changed and that he was going to have a big surprise for her when he got home. Then he called Ron Bushy, who was one of his friends from Iron Butterfly, and he said, quote, "Bush, it's Taylor. I love you more than life itself." And then he called his wife back and told her, quote, "Whatever happens, I'll always be with you." And then at 11:59 a.m., which is not midnight, it is in the middle of the day, he made a 911 call where he said, quote, "This is Philip Taylor Kramer. I am going to kill myself." And then no one heard or saw him for over 4 years before they found his van in that ravine in Malibu.
Damn.
Wow.
Authorities literally have no idea what happened. According to them, he just vanished. And just to be clear on where their heads were at, here's a quote from LAPD officer Chuck Carter that Jesse will do us the service of reading out of the chat right now.
You live in LA, you know the LAPD tone.
LA Confidential.
Oh, boy. You know what?
Yeah.
Because I live in LA. Something happened during that. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not getting pulled over. Something happened during that time, either in his head or at the terminal, that made him turn away. And I'll tell you, I haven't a clue. The guy didn't have an enemy. The guy was a dedicated family man. I checked him out. Whatever happened in his head while at the airport, or whatever happened right in the airport, I've got a feeling we'll learn from Kramer himself.
Yeah. So literally just like, they were like, we don't have any fucking idea what happened to this guy. And as with many likely suicides, people who knew Kramer stood by his character, stood by his mental state, saying things like he never would have left his family. Weirdly, his widow also said that he loved them. She was like, he loved us more than life itself, which is like weird that she said that when he said that in his call to Ron Bushy. I don't know what that means, but I just noticed that while I was writing this. But more notably, for our purposes, Kramer's father has a totally different interpretation of what happened, stemming from the fact that at the time of his disappearance, Kramer had apparently been working on some type of technology that could transport information and matter through space faster than the speed of light. And so for Mathis, I actually have a quote from the father to read, if you would be so kind to kind of wrap up this mini mystery, if you will.
Is it because it's a small mystery?
It's a very small mystery.
Gotcha. Taylor told me a long time before there was people giving him problems. They wanted what he was doing, and several of them had threatened him. He told me, if I ever say I'm going to kill myself, don't you believe it. I'm going to be needing help. I don't know why I stumbled on this one. But yeah, I'm going to be needing help. So yeah, that's enough.
My dude literally called his dad and was like, somebody's going to make me tell you that I want to kill myself and that I'm going to kill myself. Don't believe me when I say that. Because he was working on it. I don't know exactly what it was. I've heard that the compression technology, something about the way data was being transferred. He like had some hot thing that like was about to be popping off, and that he had interest from all these people, and he was like working his ass off and trying to figure it out. But yeah, he had a really weird day where he was calling a lot of people on the phone. People say, maybe he had some sort of break from overworking himself, and he just like went to a weird place. But nevertheless, his dad was like, hey, here's exactly what he said was going to happen. So I don't know.
Do we know what happened to his work after he died?
No, we don't. But yeah, I think I would like to imagine that whoever owned the copyrights was somebody that he wanted to have the money. But I don't, a lot of people die who do important things and then nobody ever follows up. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But yeah, you get it. It's Silicon Butterfly because he's a Silicon Valley guy, but he was in Iron Butterfly. That's
a fantastic title.
Yeah. Mini.
I mean, now it's like when the title reveals itself in the movie. You're like, now I get why it's called this.
And the characters look right into the camera.
Yeah.
Thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring the episode. The new year is a great time to focus on what's most important to you, whether it's saving money by ordering less takeout, learning to cook, or prioritizing your overall wellness. HelloFresh is here to help with endless options to make cooking at home simple and enjoyable. HelloFresh delivers pre-portioned ingredients to your door, including farm-fresh produce that arrives within a week, so you get convenience without skimping on quality. Skip the trip to the grocery store, saving you the wait in long holiday lines and ensuring you don't waste money on excess food. I've been using HelloFresh now for a couple of meals every week for, I think it's been close to a year at this point, maybe around a year, and I genuinely wouldn't change a thing. It's just easy, the food is good, and I don't have more than I need for any given meal. It's perfect for somebody like me who doesn't go out of his house all that often in the first place. You can get some HelloFresh as well by going to hellofresh.com/chill16 and use code chill16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's hellofresh.com/chill16 with promo code chill16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 gifts. Thanks again to HelloFresh for sponsoring the episode, America's #1 meal kit.
So that's number 3. Number 4 is called the Atari Labyrinth.
What?
And I'm going to open this one by asking you guys if you guys have heard of a place called the Library of Alexandria.
Yes. It no longer exists.
Yeah, it's a shame. God knows what knowledge was lost.
Yeah. I've always sort of been fascinated by the idea that there were like discoveries that we've made in science and math or whatever that were lost to history when the Library of Alexandria burned. Sure. And just to be clear, Alexandria is an ancient city in Egypt. It had a beautiful library that was like fabled to be like a wonder of the world almost. It had like the sum of man's knowledge. Mm-hmm. Supposed to, like, so many romantic stories. Like, we used to have magic, but then it burned in the Library of Alexandria. Like, so many things burned there. Yeah,
I've heard this quote before, and I don't know how factual it is, but I did hear, like, didn't it like quote unquote kind of like set humanity back like 100 or 200 years worth of knowledge just lost in that fire? And like,
there's no way to calculate it without knowing exactly what was lost. But like,
that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, that's like the idea and the romance of the idea that like there are things that were lost that have never been discovered since. Right. Sure. Is like a really exciting thing to me. But a few months ago, I happened upon a much more recent example of something like this happening, having to do with a game called Entombed that is for the Atari 2600. The story goes that 2 video game archaeologists, which are real things now apparently, one from the University of Calgary in Canada called John Aycock, and another from University of York in the UK called Tara Copplestone, could not be a more British name than that, decided to look into the game Entombed as part of their research into the history of video game software programming, because the idea of archaeologists studying a game about archaeologists was intriguing to them, because the game Entombed is a game all about finding your way out of a maze-like catacomb of zombies. It's called Catacombs of the Zombies. You get stuck in there with your archaeology team. You got to get out of the maze. This is the type of game that does not fly beyond the Atari 2600. It was fine in the 70s, but nowadays people would be like, this is unfinished. This is not gameplay. This is a maze. I could do this on paper. But the crazy thing is that because the game had so little memory on it, rather than being able to store maze designs on the cartridge, which is what you would do today, they didn't have space to store all these maze designs. So programmers would literally write code that could generate mazes procedurally on an Atari 2600, which resulted in a situation where you're playing Entombed, but you never play the same maze twice, and the mazes don't take up any space on the cartridge at all. So the question is
really, really, really basic roguelike in a way.
Yeah, I mean, like
a different maze.
certainly a roguelike mechanic of randomized.
Sure. Yeah.
But how was it possible that a console released in the same year as the original Star Wars could be expected to do that perfectly every time without making an ugly, unsolvable maze design that didn't fit together from time to time?
It's a valid question.
And yet that is exactly what it did. Right. So through reverse engineering, these video game archaeologists sort of discovered the concept behind how it worked. And to get that across to you listeners, I'm going to have Jesse read a little quote from them right now.
It turned out that the maze is generated in a sequence. The game needs to decide, as it draws each new square of the maze, whether it should draw a wall or a space for the game characters to move around in. Each square should therefore be wall or no wall, 1 or 0 in computer bits. The game's algorithm decides this automatically by analyzing a section of the maze. It uses a 5-square tile that looks like a Tetris piece. This tile determines the nature of the next square in each row.
So I know already it's already kind of complicated, but I think you kind of follow along that they're kind of like literally procedurally using it to generate the maze by like kind of checking it using these pieces, right?
Yeah, and it's either a 1 or a 0. It's like, is it going to be a wall or no wall? Yeah.
Right.
How? That's the fascinating part. The fundamental logic that determines the next square is locked in a table of possible values written into the game's code. Depending on the values of the 5-square tile, the table tells the game to deposit either wall, no wall, or random choice between the two.
Yeah. But beyond that, no one has any idea how that actual table of possible values could have been made. Copplestone said, quote, "The abnormality of the table was just quite striking." And her partner Acock said, quote, "The struggle I have as a scientist is, I think that there should be some logical way that this will all make sense, and there really doesn't seem to be." But they would. So these two people were able to interview one of the 5 people who worked on Entombed. Who's a guy.
We're going to find out this guy was like a mass. Like, this seems like stoner logic.
A guy called Steve Sidley was the guy that they interviewed, but he said it was the work of another guy who was unnamed for privacy reasons. He had this to say about the guy. This is from Mathis to read. It's a quick one.
I couldn't unscramble it. He told me it came upon him when he was drunk and whacked out of his brain.
Yay!
So he cracked through the collective unconscious and found a simple
beautiful mathematical infinity formula. And he
realized he was numbers and used his own internal code.
Maybe that's why they can't find. Maybe that's why they can't find him. Maybe he's just still there in numbers.
The game. Is that what that guy was when he messaged us?
Like Jack Nicholson.
Oh, that was the developer giving us a new story.
In the picture in the lobby of the Overlook, Jack Nicholson. They tried to contact this person who was whacked out of his brain for comment. They gave no reply. And so the mystery of how this infinite maze generator was created will stay a mystery probably forever. But that's really interesting, right? I've been really into the idea of like just weird little pockets of scientific phenomenon. And I just love that there's like an infinity maze generator in Entombed for Atari 2600 that nobody knows where it came from.
Yeah, that's really
cool. Remember the one from the other day, like months ago, about the like saran wrap factory that like creates like electrical force fields? That's like insane. That's like an X-File. You know what I mean?
You know what's still on my mind is the fucking brain cells playing Pong. That's what's still on my mind.
That's fucking me up to this day.
Hey, tune in to the Patreon exclusives.
It's a wonderful restaurant. It's a great website. That's number 4 of 22. On episode 2022. Number 5.
This might be like a 4-part.
Number 5 is called Bad
We do have a whole year. We do have a whole year.
We've got to get through all of 2022.
No, this is the first episode of the year. Bad First Day is the name of this one. Okay. Now we're going.
Bad First Date?
Bad First Day.
Day.
Yeah. So now we're going to go back in time. We're going to go back across the Atlantic Ocean. We're in Bavaria, Germany, March 31st, 1922. Oh. Maria Baumgartner was working her very first day as the maid for the Gruber family, who all lived and worked together at a place called, say it with me, audience, Hinterkaifeck Farm. Okay.
I think we've done this on this show.
We may have. You may have. I don't know if you have or not, because I don't remember a lot of what happens in this story. And I looked hard to see if we did. I have heard details of this story before for sure, but there was a lot more to it that I did not know. And so I felt it was worth doing here as a Shorty Boy, AKA a mini mystery.
Of course.
Apparently, Maria Baumgartner was replacing the previous maid who had quit about 6 months previously because she believed that the place was haunted. At first, the family did not believe their old maid when she said that she heard footsteps and voices up in the attic. But after she left, the Grubers eventually started hearing the voices too, and slowly but surely more and more things started to seem off. Okay. So the father of the family was Andreas Gruber. He had mentioned that a set of house keys had gone missing recently. He said he found a weird newspaper in his house that he didn't recall purchasing. And then later, he found scratches on his tool shed, like someone was trying to get into his tool shed. And then like just a few days before Maria came onto the job, he said the famous imagery of this story, which is the large footsteps walking out of the woods to the back door of the house with no footsteps leading back out of the house.
This does sound familiar, and I'm trying desperately to remember when. I know
this is definitely an episode that we did.
I know that we've talked about it, but you gotta trust me that there's more to this.
I'm trusting.
Andreas was proud, and though he told a couple people about what was going on, he wouldn't let anybody help him. He didn't go to the police. And anyway, for the next 4 days, from the outside at least, everything seemed fine at the farm. Cattle were being fed. People were cooking in the kitchen. Smoke was rising from the chimney. Even the dog was tied up outside when the mailman came by that Saturday. But everything was not adding up. And on April 1st, and this apparently is a thing that happens in Bavaria, which I wish happened in my life, the coffee merchant came by the house to take an order, but no one answered his knocks. Their daughter, the Gruber daughter, did not show up for school. And the Grubers did not show up at all on church that Sunday. And that's when people started to get kind of eyeball emoji, if there were emojis at that time, but there weren't. So they weren't eyeball emoji, but you get what I'm saying. And on April 4th, a repairman came by early in the morning. And after waiting around for an hour and seeing that no one was on the farm anywhere seemingly, but the animals and the dog, he just was like, well, I'm here to do my job. So he like repaired the thing he needed to repair, left after a couple hours. He told people like, I don't know what's going on over there. There's like no one over there. And so later that day at 3:30 p.m., some neighbors finally worked up the bravery to really start searching the place. And when they walked into the barn, they were shocked to find the bodies of Andreas, his wife, his daughter, and his granddaughter murdered with a pickaxe and stacked on top of each other.
Yep.
His 2-year-old son, Joseph, and Maria, the maid, who unfortunately was her first day on the job, were also both dead in the main house. And no one really knows who did it or why. Okay. At first, it seemed like it was a violent robbery, but a huge amount of money was found still in the safe that was in the house, which is like, for the police, enough for them to abandon the idea that it was like a robbery. And other than the fact that whoever did this seemingly stayed in the house, living there for days, living out of the pantry, eating their bread, taking care of the farm in a way, no one really seemed to have benefited from the crime in any way, as far as anyone could tell. And the farm was demolished a year later, and the case was officially closed in 1955. And the few investigations that have happened since have led to no definitive conclusions, which is crazy. However, there are still a few surprising revelations left and when I get into the suspects. So I'm just going to go down the list and do the best I can. So here we go. The first suspect is Karl Gabriel. He's the husband of Andreas's daughter, Victoria. Okay. Apparently, this guy was meant to have been killed by a shelling in France in World War I, but nobody ever found his body. And once the Gruber family murder was in the news, people started to go like, maybe he survived the war and he was like back for revenge or something. But that's weird, right? That he would be there for revenge. Like, what would he be there for revenge for? But that's one thing that's absolutely crazy about this case is that there's this one detail here that is like never mentioned. You always read the story about they were murdered and like one day after the footsteps led to the house and stuff. But what they never mention is that at least until 1915 or 16, and remember, this is 1922, right? So a couple years back, but at least till 1915 or 16, it was very well established that the father of the family, Andreas Gruber, had regularly been raping his own daughter. And once it had been discovered by the town, they were like, dude, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're a fucking travesty. You're a fucking pariah. Like, we fucking hate you. You're like a mark on this town's history forever. Like, fuck yourself, right? And in fact, there was even some speculation that Victoria's son, Joseph, was actually like I'm my own
grandpa.
Like I'm my own. My son is also my grandson. Situation where he's having sex with his daughter to bear himself his own grandson. If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
It's extremely fucked up shit. And So that brings us back around to Joseph, the grandson, and the fact that Victoria's husband, you know, bearing that in mind as something that was happening while he was away fucking getting shelled in France, you know, in World War I, maybe him coming back and wanting revenge kind of makes sense. Though, admittedly, I can't imagine why he would murder every single person in the house for that reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why would you kill your son? You're not your son, but like, why would you kill your wife? And I don't know. It just seems like excessive as revenge. And also, granted, according to like official documents, this dude was dead. So chances it was him are admittedly very slim. But there were, many years later, some German prisoners who were released from Soviet captivity in World War II, which is, 20 years later, who said that they were let go early from captivity by a German-speaking Soviet officer who claimed, I have murdered the Gruber family, and even though it's pretty sus evidence, people who reported seeing Carl Gabriel around after he was supposedly dead all said that he was planning on running away to Russia. So it's loosey-goosey, but there is at least some sort of breadcrumb that maybe puts him in Russia and able to be the person who said he killed them there. But that's a wide one. Anyway, the next suspect is another person believed to have fathered Victoria's child. A local guy to the area named Lorenzschlittenbauer, who just did 1 million suspicious things to cast doubt on himself over the years as the true murderer. Firstly, he was there when they first found the bodies, and they had to break a gate to get into the barn. Like the group of them had to break a gate to get into the barn. And then later, though, when they get to the farmhouse at the front door, he allegedly unlocks the door with a fucking key. And if you remember, one of the ghost things that happened was that his keys went missing early in the story. And so this guy goes in, unlocks with a key, and goes in the house alone before anyone else. And when they're like, what the fuck did you just go do in there? He apparently said it was to look for his son, Joseph. And it's confusing because he has one actual son named Joseph for sure already. And then this other kid, that's Victoria's kid, who's like 2 years old, is also called Joseph. So it was unclear which one he was talking about in the piece that I was reading. Though it is well established that he actually did disturb the bodies during the discovery of the crime.
Oh, okay.
So that's weird. That's suspicious. Why did he have a key? Why would he go in by himself? Why did he mess with the bodies? And he was also known to let slip strangely specific details about the day of the murders, and that he probably shouldn't have known, like how the ground was too frozen for the killers to bury the bodies the day they were killed, or returning to the fucking scene of the crime from time to time, right? Which is like classic I'm the killer type behavior.
Oh yeah, that's like one of the most expected behaviors from people who do that kind of thing.
Yeah. And there were rumors that Victoria had just recently began demanding some money to help raise their secret son from this guy. So that's the motive right there, maybe. But years later, in 1941, he actually won a few slander cases against people who were referring to him as the murderer of Hinterkaifeck. So whatever case there was against him was probably not super airtight. And he won those cases hands down. So I don't know what that means. There's also these two brothers, Karl and Andres S., who were named as the murderers in a letter from a woman called Therese T. in 1971. She said that when she was 12, she witnessed her mom talking to another mom who was saying that her two sons, Karl and Andreas, which apparently there's like 5 names in Germany. I don't know why everybody in this case named the same thing. As another guy named Andreas. Karl and Andreas were the murderers, and that one of them, she was talking about, oh my God, my sons did these crazy murders. Remember those murders? My son did them. And all I can remember him talking about was that he lost his penknife while he was there murdering. Right. So that was the letter that showed up in 1971 that said all this. Right. And this would normally just be nonsense from a crazy person. Why would we care what a letter 50 years later would say? But they actually did find an erroneous knife on the premises when they demolished the farm in 1923. So that's kind of interesting.
Though, I mean,
yeah,
it is like semi kind of, it's like, yeah, it's physical evidence, but it could be anybody's
it's like
fucking
that
knife
guy
kind of
who
thing.
like was like, oh, I'm on TikTok and no one is on the streets or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
However, it's also said that Miss Rieger, who was the original maid, the one who left because of the ghost 6 months earlier, she said that she thought the knife was already there when she was working. She said she saw that knife outside. So make of that what you will. But speaking of her, Miss Rieger, I'm actually kind of starting to think it's possible that she kind of half knew something was going on and just came up with the ghost thing to like have plausible deniability, because there are accounts of her claiming to have been spoken to from outside her window while she was working in the house by an unknown figure, like through her window, like whispering to her from outside, who at separate times she identified as the Thaler brothers and the Bickler brothers, or even both. And that maybe she talked to both of them because both of them seem to have separate knowledge of inside information regarding the comings and goings of the people on the farm and where certain specific people were on the farm and things were located. And it's a weird story, right? I feel like maybe that's her version of a story where she was saying, I gave them this information. You know what I mean? But I don't know. But unfortunately, that's as far as it's ever gone. No one knows for sure what happened. And there are a lot of convincing evidence for all these different scenarios. So, well, except for the one where the husband seems to be alive, but that one seems wild. But other than that, they all seem at least a little bit believable. And also, I was watching BuzzFeed Unsolved the other day, and they said that all the bodies' heads were removed for analysis, but that pretty soon after that, they lost all the heads. So all the bodies that were buried from the family were just all buried headless, and nobody knows where the heads are to this day. But I looked to try and find like where that was from, like the official source from that. Couldn't find it, but it was on BuzzFeed Unsolved, and I feel like maybe they would have checked it. I don't know. I don't want to say it's definitive, but that's that. And also, just as a last word on this case, there were some students at the German Police Academy who did like a soft reopening of the case as like a training exercise. And they concluded that it was extremely unlikely that the evidence to definitively solve the case would ever be found. That was like their main findings. But it is worth mentioning that also they all did unanimously decide together who they thought the most likely suspect was. And for legal reasons, they can't say, because they would be like them implicating somebody based on like fake police work, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's got to be the worst ever first day at a new job that I can think of.
Yeah, no, that would be bad.
How about that?
I mean, yeah. I am obsessed now with the fact that you mentioned the TikTok time traveler.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many.
I went to go look that guy up because I don't remember the dude. Like, he was showing videos and it was great video. Yep. It seemed fake, but like it was very good. I went to go look for a follow up on that guy, and I realized that like there's so many of them.
Yes, and there's tons of them.
Like different people doing it.
A lot. And my favorite one is a guy who says he's from 2714.
Come on.
He's a time traveler who came back. And my favorite one is he has two that are so good and they're recent. This is why I'm only bringing up these two.
Yeah.
December 2021, a T-Rex dinosaur egg will be found that can open a portal to an alternate universe, and 3 teens are going to open the portal.
Dude, are you sure you weren't talking about an N64 game?
But wait, February 2022, the mythical city of Atlantis will be found housing a new hybrid fish-human species in the Atlantic Ocean.
That's a new part of the lore.
Abe Sapien? What is this, DC Comics?
I guess.
I think to be less fantastical, I think we talked about it on a mini-sode, but there was one that I saw filming the Empty Streets type.
Yeah.
And they turned the camera and one of the buildings like rendered a little late and it popped in and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then just like,
that's the thing that's fucked up. Have you guys played the Matrix thing?
Like look at, like engines look photoreal now.
Did we talk about the Matrix
for
thing?
Buildings. No, we haven't really talked about it. Maybe we'll do a little bit of talk in the mini-sode about the Unreal 5 Matrix thing.
Okay, yeah. did you guys play it?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Oh yeah, you got to do that. You got a PS5 or something, right? You got to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Number 6 of 22, mind you, is called Cursed or clear. Okay.
Okay. Internet service providers operate like monopolies in the regions that they serve. Even worse, many ISPs log your internet activity and sell that data onto other big tech companies or advertisers. To prevent them from seeing my internet activity, I protect my devices using ExpressVPN. And thanks to ExpressVPN for sponsoring the episode. ExpressVPN is a simple app for your computer, smartphone, or whatever that encrypts your network data and tunnels it through a secure VPN server so that your provider can't see any of your activity. The list of people you've messaged, sites you've visited, and videos you've watched gets tracked by tech giants who can then sell your information for profit. I recommend ExpressVPN as the best way to hide your online activity from your ISP. Just download the app, tap one button, and bam, you're protected. And ExpressVPN doesn't slow your connection. That's why it's rated the #1 VPN by Business Insider and The Verge. Moreover, you could use ExpressVPN to change the country you're located in and go watch the Netflix of, say, the UK for that very specific series that you can't watch wherever you're at. Visit expressvpn.com/chill. That's expressvpn.com/chill. And you'll get 3 extra months for free. That's expressvpn.com/chill to learn more.
Up next, to lighten things up, I've got a nice little pop culture mystery for you guys to chew on in the form of a short list of scary movies, a mini list, if you will, which all happen to be about humans communing with powers beyond their understanding, by the way, and the various ways that meddling with said powers are said to have cursed the people who made them. Okay?
Kind of like Richard Gere in the Mothman
Exactly
prophecies.
right. And
which you can go to patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod, sign up for the $20 tier and get the chill tracks and listen along.
Beautiful.
It's possible that all these movies will eventually be on chill tracks. Who knows?
That's very true.
Maybe you've heard of some of these before. Maybe you haven't. But after I tell you what happened in each movie, this is why it's called this. You guys are going to decide whether you think each movie is cursed or clear. See what I'm saying? You know what I was saying earlier about consonants? You know what I'm saying? The sound of two consonants that alliterates.
Alliteration?
Yeah. Alliteration is a blanket term. It's like a... Okay. You get what I'm saying. All right. Number 1, the first movie, it's Poltergeist. The 1982 movie Poltergeist is a movie about ghosts haunting a family home which was secretly built on a Native American burial ground and was rumored to have been ghost directed by Steven Spielberg himself. But the question is, were any of the ghosts real? And what about Poltergeist 2? Because apparently Poltergeist 2 is just as haunted as Poltergeist 1, and Poltergeist 3 is possibly somewhat haunted as well. So let's get into how these curses maybe happened, and then we'll get into what the curses did. So for the first movie, Poltergeist 1, according to some unconfirmed information attributed to actress Jo Beth Williams, who plays the mother character in the movie, some of the skeletons that Spielberg used in the film's big climactic scene were real, because apparently real skeletons were at the time way cheaper than like good looking plastic ones somehow. Maybe that's true. I have no idea.
I believe that because weren't the skeletons in Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean for a couple of them were real for a little while?
I was just watching a thing on Disney Plus like about that maybe, and I think I picked up that piece of information as well.
One of them's still there. They still have a human skull on the ride. Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if they were using them for movies too.
So it sounds wacky. I think it would be weird to like play with somebody's bones. Like, you know, maybe for set dressing, I would be convinced, but like, you couldn't convince me to like. Would you guys
buy a like actual human skull for your like display?
I don't know.
Like if you could,
I don't know what tone I would set with a real human skull.
Because like I went to like an occult, almost like a merchant's corner you would find in like a con.
Sure.
And they were selling human skulls for like $250.
Did you buy one?
No.
Were you tempted?
I did not. I was tempted. They also were selling dirt from the sites of serial killers.
Oh, that's a really provable and good way to spend some money.
Yeah, that's why I didn't buy it.
It's like a real life NFT. All right. So that's Poltergeist 1's curse. Poltergeist 2, on the other hand, the curse was pinned on a man called Will Sampson, who is a Muskogee actor, painter, and like legendary rodeo performer who plays this sort of like shaman type character. I think his name is Taylor in Poltergeist 2. I've only seen Poltergeist 2 and 3 like once a piece. They're not the same movie as Poltergeist 1. And after hearing about the curse on Poltergeist 1, whether true fact or weird racist idea about magical Native American people, it is said that Will Sampson then performed an exorcism on the set of Poltergeist 2, which according to the lore is the source of the curse, angered the spirits, et cetera, and that's where we're at. And then, according to the theory, we're off to the races with the curse stuff. First thing that happens, a few months after Poltergeist 1 comes out, 22-year-old actress Dominique Dunn, who plays the older daughter Dana in the movie, had to be removed from life support 5 days after being jumped and brutally strangled by her ex in her own fucking driveway. What a real fucking piece of shit that guy was.
Yeah, that's yikes.
Guy, I think, totally went down for it and everything. But yeah, she fucking died for a stupid, shitty ass reason. And that sucks. But that was like the big first thing that made everybody go like, oh shit. That's how there was like a rumor about a curse so early, because it was just a few months later. And then Julian Beck, who plays the character of Kane in Poltergeist 2, died of stomach cancer at age 60. He already had cancer going into production, and he knew that he had cancer, but he passed away in September of 1985, which was like so soon after he got on the movie that he didn't even get to watch the movie come out.
Damn.
So people link the two things together, his death and the curse. And then 2 years later, Will Sampson, the guy who allegedly exorcised the set, died himself after a lengthy illness during a risky Hail Mary surgery, which required multiple organ transplants due to a chronic degenerative condition called scleroderma.
What is that? Do you know?
It's degenerative. It happens over time. All his organs started like dying. He needed multiple organs transplanted at once. And it was like one of those surgeries where it's like, well, we're going to try, but you might die. And he died.
Yeah, it is a group of rare diseases that involve the hardening and tightening of the skin and connective tissue.
Yo, yeah, I'm looking at it right. That looks terrible.
Yeah, you don't want to look that up. It's brutal. I was in that zone earlier today, and it's not for everyone. I'll tell you that much. And then not even a year later comes the big one that everybody talks about today, where Heather O'Rourke, who is Carol Ann in all three movies, the like little girl who says, what does she say? They're here. You know, you remember that scene?
I may not have seen the movie, but I do know that quote.
It's a famous fucking scene. It's like a Here's Johnny level scene.
Yes, very much so.
She suddenly passes away at the age of 12 before Poltergeist 3 comes out in theaters due to a misdiagnosed congenital intestinal abnormality, which she initially believed just to be a flu. So she was being treated for something totally different than what she had. She had this like horrible blockage in her intestine. She went in for a bowel obstruction surgery, and just like there was something wrong in there that was not like the type of shit they were expecting, and it just went south, and she just died out of nowhere at age 12. And then in March of 1992, Richard Lawson, who I believe is like Beyonce's stepfather or something like that, or father-in-law, I can't remember.
Awesome.
Richard Lawson, he plays Dr. Mitchell in Poltergeist 1. He survived a plane crash in 1992 where 27 people out of the 51 people on the plane were killed, which is insane. And then finally, and maybe wildest of all, in 2009, Lou Perryman, who was also in the first movie as the character Pugsley, was axe murdered in his home by a recently released ex-convict who, according to Wikipedia, was, quote, off his medications and had been drinking. Okay. So those were the curses. That's all the bad shit that happened to the people. That's Poltergeist. What do you guys say? Is it cursed or clear?
I mean, that one seems cursed as hell. I feel like it's also a lot of coincidences, but
that's what I felt.
But like, just rattling them off, it seems like you can buy how people would be like, oh, that's a curse thing.
The reason it's rough is because it's such a long span of time. You know what I mean? Like people be dying. You know what I mean? Like if you
people do be dying.
If you just like take a slice of like 2,000 people and you track them for 15 years,
right?
Some of them are going to die. There's just no question. But okay, final answer, cursed or clear?
I mean, I think, look,
Poltergeist. This is we're
definitely clear, but like I like the cursed aspect of it.
Okay,
I think it's like fun to be like,
not a real curse.
That was cursed. Yeah,
I have to go the same. Like everything you described that happened. It's like they came into the movie with these problems already. It's a simple, tragic, coincidental timing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Up next, we have The Exorcist. This is a classic 1973 movie, a horror film about a priest exorcising a demon from a young girl. And apparently this curse traces back to a story that Jason Miller, who plays Father Karras in the movie, the staircase guy, if you know the movie, he told a story where during filming, an actual priest came up to him while he was standing out on the street for like a smoke break or something, and unbidden came up to him and with no knowledge of the film, handed him a medallion, an ancient sacred medallion. And here is a quote from that priest for Jesse to read.
Okay. Reveal the devil. Wait, hold on. I got this. I can do better. Reveal the devil for the trickster that he is. He will seek retribution against you, or he will even try to stop what you are trying to do to unmask him.
Yeah. So
I love it. That's fantastically done.
So you can kind of interpret that as him being like, listen, you're making a movie where you're trying to show Satan off and how he's bad. You're going to get fucked for it. So that's a story that Jason Miller told. And now we're off to the races for the curse evidence. Ready? Here we go. First,
I'm ready.
The set for the house, the main place that the movie takes place, was completely destroyed by a fire right in the middle of production, which delayed literally everything for 6 entire weeks where they just rebuilt their burnt down set. And the official reason, as far as anyone could tell, was that a pigeon flew into some kind of electrical box and messed everything up, aka an act of God, or perhaps an act of the devil. Then, during the scene where Regan throws her mom from the bed, Ellen Burstyn, who is the actress who plays her mom, was really screaming in pain in the shot because the stunt that they were doing went wrong. And she actually, in that shot, you're watching her receive a permanent spinal injury during that scene.
Nice.
And then this one is crazy. During the movie's premiere, which was in Rome, while the film was playing in a movie theater that was between 2 churches, a 400-year-old cross on top of one of the churches was struck by a bolt of lightning and fell to the ground. Then people connected to the film started dying, from actor Jack McGowan, who died from the flu a week after he filmed his character's death scene in the movie because there was an epidemic of the flu in London at the time, to a night watchman, to a special effects expert. All these people, like 9 of them, all died leading up to the movie. And then finally, Paul Bateson, who was technically in the movie as a radiology technician bit part, he was arrested in 1977 for the murder of a Variety reporter, and at one point was thought maybe to have been a serial killer with 5 or 6 victims, though if he was a pretty good one because there wasn't enough evidence to go on about it, and so they never got a definitive answer. And that's the Exorcist curse. So do we call it cursed or clear?
That one's much closer to cursed in my book.
The cross is pretty crazy. It all happened mostly during the movie. Lots of deaths during.
I would stick around for our bonus episode today.
Okay.
Because I have something related to The Exorcist. And
okay.
So,
ooh, all right.
Yeah, I will say that I withhold my answer for the bonus show.
Oh my God. Okay. Also, I forgot to mention this in here, but another thing that happened was Max von Sydow. He's the other priest in the movie. Mm-hmm. What's his name? Father Magus? I forget. Marin. Father Marin. The moment that he landed in America to shoot the movie, his brother died.
Damn.
Yeah. Or his brother got stricken with an illness and died. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was
that's nuts.
so much misfortune around The Exorcist. So wait, are we cursed or are we clear? What's the deal? Jesse's abstaining.
Jesse's withholding. I'm saying cursed.
Full on cursed.
I'm going to go with cursed on that one. That one seems pretty cursed. Do you think Satan, cursing this movie gave like little Nicky like his blessings?
Like, is it like a clear?
Like Adam Sandler's like Little Nicky?
No, have you seen Little Nicky? No,
I haven't actually.
No.
I have
Let's
not.
never watch that one. What do you say?
There was
Actually,
no blessings. No blessings were involved.
Let's watch
Only
that
curses.
one next. Let's watch Little Nicky. That's
You want to watch it this month?
There's no justification for watching that on the Chilluminati podcast. There's no way that I could convince you that Little Nicky is going to somehow reveal some mystery about the world to us. No way on earth.
Mothman Prophecies only revealed like the mystery of how horny Richard Gere was.
John Lovitz plays a horny bird in a tree who jacks off in the tree in that movie.
That sounds awful.
It is.
It sounds so
And it
bad.
is. I would rather watch Little Vampire than Little Nicky. Anyway, up next we have another movie. I bet you can guess what it is. It's Rosemary's Baby.
Okay.
It's Ira Levin's novel Rosemary's Baby about a husband and wife confronted with the possibility that their unborn child may be the target of a secret satanic cult. What's considered by some to be one of the most perfect horror thrillers ever written, while others considered it a literal affront to God. So much so, in fact, that religious and societal guilt and shame about the book and anyone it may have offended or inspired in a negative way followed Ira Levin, the author, all through his life. Though, to be fair, from the beginning, he must have known what he was doing in some respects, sort of poking a hornet's nest, since the idea was conceived of by Levin while his wife was pregnant in real life, as a story where the birth of Jesus was turned upside down, where God was dead, and where the devil was alive. That was like what he was trying to write. So he had to know that somebody was going to get mad at him, right? But anyway, none of this stopped it from becoming a huge hit. It was a great selling book. And pretty soon after, I think like within a year, there was a absolutely fantastic, incredible movie version made by Roman Polanski, which was condemned by the Catholic Church and possibly, depending on what you guys think about what I say next, cursed. First, in the fall of 1968, the composer Krzysztof Komeda had a bad fall during a party, fell down some rocky outcropping or something, went into a 4-month coma, which I don't know if you have seen the movie Rosemary's Baby, but if you remember what happens to Hutch in that movie, it's a similar situation to what happens to Hutch in that movie, except Komeda never came back out of the coma, and after 4 months, he fully passed away. The composer of the film. Then in April 1969, haunted by constant hate mail from angry Catholics, producer William Castle was hospitalized with severe kidney stones and even yelled out, "Rosemary, for God's sakes, drop the knife," while in his room, like losing his mind at the hospital. And then, of course, as the last element of the curse of Rosemary's Baby, we are all very aware of what happened to Roman Polanski's wife, Sharon Tate, just a few months later in August 1969, when she was brutally murdered by the Manson family along with her unborn child, 4 of her friends, and 2 neighbors up the street, all while Rosemary's Baby was still playing in theaters and Roman Polanski himself was out of the country. So, was it cursed or clear?
It still seems like coincidences.
Yeah?
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say this movie's cursed as fuck.
Have you seen this movie? Have you seen this one? This one is, This one feels like one of those things where people are like, you shouldn't read this, but you should. It has like a, like now it's so tame. Like if you go back and watch Rosemary's Baby in 2021, like the depravity that movies have like gained since then is like immeasurable.
It makes it just look like a PG movie.
Yeah, but it's still a fucking great movie, and it is like what the plot of the movie is fucking wild.
I think you've made. I now know what movie I want to watch this month.
Is it Rosemary's Baby?
No, it's not Rosemary's Baby. It's a terrible B movie.
Oh, you know what movie we should watch? Speaking of Roman Polanski, is The Ninth Gate.
Oh my
I've never
God!
Seen that.
Really?
I love The Ninth Gate. The Ninth Gate is.
I want to watch. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's a great double feature with Chinatown. If you guys are like looking for a great double feature, watch Chinatown and then watch The Ninth Gate. It's great.
I want to watch Mazes and Monsters with you guys.
You don't want to watch
Tom Hanks?
Yes, with Tom Hanks, and it's on fucking Amazon Prime. We can watch.
God. You don't want to watch the Arnold Schwarzenegger End of Days film?
I forgot. Is that the one with is that the one? No, I think I'm thinking of Eraser.
That's Arnold Schwarzenegger versus the Armageddon. It is.
What's the one with Vivica Fox?
Schwarzenegger.
Is that Eraser?
Is Vivica Fox?
Is it Vivica Fox? Am I just like a piece of shit?
I just don't know.
All right, hold on. We're gonna get to the bottom of this now.
We are gonna watch Mazes and Monsters.
You guys are
that movie is so good.
Mazes and Monsters, dude. Have you ever seen Monster Squad?
No.
Oh, it's Vanessa Williams. I am a piece of shit. Okay, it start with a V though. You got me there. You know, I worked at a video store. You gotta give me some slack on that one. And finally, we have a movie that messed with the most powerful power of all. That's right, The Passion of the Christ. It was released on Ash Wednesday, 2004, made a shitload of money, and then made like pretty much everyone who existed uncomfortable in some way. And if you don't know what I mean, just fucking watch this movie. It is a nuts movie. It is like that movie with Jennifer Lopez, The Cell, except into the brain of Mel Gibson. It is a fucked up, surreal, upsetting, like torture porn Jesus movie. It's wild. It's wild.
You're supposed to understand his pain and what it was like when he went and got crucified.
I'm not going to say that I'm not trying to be sacrilegious. It's a movie. You know what I mean? It's not the Bible. It's just a movie. It's a fucking wild movie. Like, I've read the Bible. That's not what I pictured. But is it chill to make a super brutal, super gory, artistically reinterpreted blockbuster about such holy stuff?
That also makes you mega rich.
Yeah, well, let's see. Let's see if it's chill after I tell you this crazy stuff that happened. First, let's talk about the one that probably everybody knows about. It is true. The dude that plays Jesus in the movie, a man called Jim Caviezel, was struck by lightning during filming of this movie.
Yep.
But did you know
that
he was actually struck by lightning 3 separate times, and that one of those times, 5 minutes later, the assistant director, John Michelani, was also struck by lightning, and that was not the first time that John Michelani had been struck by lightning during the production of the film.
I like to imagine that, God's just like, how are they not getting the fucking hint? Just like,
that's like 1 in 11 million. It's like
nuts.
It is crazy.
It's so funny. That's the most evidence of God that we have so far. Yeah. Continue.
And did you know that Jim Caviezel was also accidentally whipped on set for real? Because here is a quote from Mathis to read.
That's
from Jim Caviezel. I almost said Jesus.
Listen, after what's his name accidentally shot somebody recently, I'm not surprised.
Alec Baldwin? Oh my God.
Yes, Alec Baldwin. All right. His lash just extended over the board and hit me with such a velocity that I couldn't breathe. It's like getting the wind knocked out of you. The stinging is so horrific that you can't get air. I turned around and looked at the guy, and I tell you, I may be playing Jesus, but I felt like Satan at that moment. A couple of expletives came out of my mouth.
What a wild...
I would too if I got accidentally whipped on set and was just in searing pain.
Imagine how weird it would be to see like a super realistic Jesus be like, what the fuck, man? Get your shit under control, brother. Anyway, can you guess what the very next thing that happened Jim Caviezel was? Because what happened was he got whipped again. And then at other separate times while playing Jesus Christ, he also dislocated his shoulder while bearing his giant 150-pound wooden cross. He got pneumonia. He got a lung infection. He regularly suffered migraines because he had to have this fake swollen eye for like half the movie, and it was like pushing his eye in a weird way, and it was giving him migraines. And then after this movie came out, his career basically fucking ended because he played Jesus in a movie, which is like the ultimate way to blackball yourself, which could be a sign of the curse. Or according to Caviezel, he was just blackballed by Hollywood because it's like a wild move to play Jesus. But then if you think about it, isn't that just a curse by a different name? Actually, I will leave it to you. You tell me, is it cursed or is it clean? Think about that lightning one before you answer this question.
Yeah. So like the lightning shit is wild,
but
everything else just sounds like the movie set was just rigorous and difficult and hard to get through.
Yeah. The lightning stuff is crazy, but you did say he was struck multiple other times. So like that negates the craziness of like,
that's
God
the crazy,
was mad.
That's the thing that's so crazy about it. Have you been hit by lightning?
I think while I was on a bike as a kid, it struck near me because I was like visibly shaken.
Now
like,
imagine it happens 3 more times.
Look, agreed, crazy, but I don't think that's specific to the movie. And so I have to agree with Mathis.
Clean.
Yeah, I'm going not
Passion
curse.
of the Christ is clean.
Clean.
That's what we're saying.
I mean, if we're to believe that God was super mad, then he's more like the Old Testament God and the New Testament God if he's violently punishing all the actors.
And it's just Mel Gibson if you think about it.
That's true.
And with that thought, folks, we have reached the surprise. And that's right. Part 1 of the planned two-parter has become a surprise two-parter in itself.
It's going to be a 3 or 4-parter.
Do you guys know how genius I am? Do you know what 22 is? It's 2 twos, guys. 2 twos. I'm a genius.
This is going to be good because I'm going to, after this, however many parts this is, I got to bring you all to Misery Land again. So,
we're going back and forth from Misery Land. I'm not even going to tell you what the next one is. It's quite miserable.
Yeah, don't. I'm excited. I'm excited for what you got because those were all very delectable. What they call mini?
Yeah, I call them mini mysteries. So if you guys could start saying that online and like passing that around, I think we really have something there with that. So send that around. Head on over. Let us know what you think about it at patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. Sign up for whatever one. Sign up for the highest one. Probably is the good one to sign up for. Or get a t-shirt. Or whatever one. And yeah, well, I'll be back with more mysteries, and as a trailer for the minisode, I have predictions from famous clairvoyant, famous psychic from across history about what's going to happen in 2022. So come find out the truth. And special thanks to theghost-in-the-machine.com, the Colonel, ultimateclassicrock.com, parade.com, biography.com, and grunge.com. For helping me with these so far. I'll be back with the rest of these 22 mini mysteries soon.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Anyway, me and my wife were sitting outside indulging on our porch one night, enjoying ourselves. I needed to go to the bathroom, so I stepped back inside, and after a few moments, I hear my wife go, "Holy shit, get out here." So I quickly dash back outside, and she's looking up at the sky in awe. I look up too, and there's a perfect line of dozen lights traveling across the sky.